Good morning, day 225. Look. Beautiful. We've got a lot of steam rising off the lake. Zoom in, look how cool that looks. For those of you on video. So cool. Mystical. I read Luke chapter 13. Excuse me, let me get that right. And there was, I was picking up on a theme of time and how humans tend to think they always have more time. We push things off to tomorrow. That's what the word procrastinate means, literally. It means forward tomorrow. Like, I'll just put that off till tomorrow. And that word gets bandied about a lot in our modern day. And I don't think it always gets used properly. Actually, let me back that up a minute. That's probably not the right way to put it. It's about priorities. What are we prioritizing or putting on that list of either needs to be done today or can be put off till tomorrow? Should versus could. And I think a lot of us, because we're human, we live in the human world, we put a lot of coulds on our should list. And we put a lot of shoulds on our could list. And that's what we procrastinate on. And that's what Jesus is trying to get across here, I think, in this chapter, is you guys that have your priorities mixed up. You're doing all of the things that you think are important and doing those today and not letting yourself rest until these things get done. But the things you really should be doing, you're putting off. You think you've got time. Like, oh, it's okay. I got plenty of time for that. I'm going to worry about my priorities today versus God's priorities. And God, like just slapping his head. Jesus doing the same thing. Like, y'all don't get it. There's even a parable of a fig tree where an owner, the orchard owner, which is supposed to be God in the analogy, and he has a fig tree and he comes in and checks, but every year he comes out and checks and the fig tree has no fruit. And Jesus is the gardener in this case, so he goes to his gardener and says, I'm done with this fig tree. It's just wasting space and taking up soil in my garden, in my crop or orchard here. It needs to go. And Jesus says, I'm working so hard. Just give it one more season. I will put extra fertilization on it and all of that, please. And God honors his requests. And this is a parable of even his ministry at the time. Like, he was not done yet because he was still alive. He's like, so he's having a conversation with God on our behalf. Like, I have run out of patience with these people. They still keep doing all the things that they think are important, and they're procrastinating on the thing that I keep, for thousands of years I've been telling them. And they're so hard-hearted. They're not listening. I even send my beloved son along with the truth and all of these miracles and healings, and they still don't get it. Like, I'm done. And humans, we think, oh, I've got more time. Then he uses this interesting story about natural disasters. And even Caesar at the time massacring a bunch of people who are at the temple doing sacrifices from Galilee. So he's massacred some Galileans. And the faulty thinking that some of us have when we look at natural disasters or massacres or things like, why do bad things happen to good people? You know, the question of the ages that we all struggle with. And then how do we reconcile that? And then also believe in God. And he's like, God doesn't do these things. But when these things happen because we live in a world of people that have autonomy and free will. So things happen that God does not want to happen, nor does he make everything happen. But if things happen, because you don't know when that you're going to be one of those people caught in that an unfortunate event, a good person caught in an unfortunate event. But is your heart right with God? Are you procrastinating on what you should be doing because you just don't know? This is a continuation of Luke 12, like with the master leaving his servants in charge and not telling them when he's going to return. And they think they go off and some of them go off and have a party and just do everything and take advantage of, like, woohoo, like a teenager whose parents have left and they think, oh, it's party time now, and that they can get away with that. And then the parent comes and it's like their life is probably forever changed. And was it worth it? Was it worth all that partying and putting off what you knew you should do in favor of what you could do or what you could get away with? Because you just don't know when your number is up. And are we focusing on the things that matter for eternity, or are we only focused on what we think matters here on earth for our earthly human life, which is but a speck? And this is again easier said than done, because we do have to survive. We do have real physical needs that need to be met every day. And we can get so caught up in that. And even if you care for other people in any capacity, helping to get their needs met, it's a lot of responsibility, and we put a lot of effort into that, and we put a lot of things on our should list that maybe really aren't shoulds. Martha and Mary, we have that example back in chapter 11, I think, where Martha's doing all the things that could be done, not necessarily the things that should be done. And that's where we get things mixed up. And what are on our should lists? Love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your spirit, like all the alls, and love your neighbor as yourself. 3 shoulds every day as a human. And we do everything, and we put all of our coulds on our should list, and we wait and we say, I don't have time for that today. And we always think we have another day to get to the big shoulds that God says, that God gives us. Yes. And again, easier said than done. But as I'm putting some time and effort into this, I'm finding my mind and my heart shifting. And even when I see people around me all caught up in the coulds that are shoulds to them, I don't get as caught up in that anymore, because I'm not, my focus is different now. And I can even tolerate people not being real thrilled with me and what I think are shoulds and what the things that I'm procrastinating on now. And we beat ourselves up with this word, procrastination. We really do. And we really, because we're putting some things on our should list and shoulding all over ourselves over things that really aren't on God's should list for us. Those are all nice things that we could do and we can do when we have time, but take care of first things first. Make sure you got your priorities in the right order, and that you're taking care of your life from the inside out, and the outside needs will get met. He reassured us that yesterday in Luke chapter 12. Look how much I care for the lilies of the field and the birds of the air. Like, you're the king of the hill. You're my prize creation. If I care about all of these things, how much more do you think I care about you? Get your priorities in the right order. And my question, I know I've been sharing this with you all lately, and I'm going to keep sharing it because we humans learn by repetition. But, if you need to do a heart check and you're caught up in beating yourself up over procrastinating, back up a minute. Look at the big picture. Am I shitting all over myself with things that really are could-dos? Or and am I ignoring and not doing the God's should-dos and what his commands and his priorities? And then I can back up. What would love do? What would love do? Would love get really caught up in beating herself up over not getting an email out or an appointment schedule, or making sure the kitchen's perfectly clean before I go to bed? Those are all could-dos. I could do that. But if I'm doing it to the point where I'm exhausting myself, I'm getting angry at other people because these things are left undone, and I think I'm procrastinating and everybody else around me is procrastinating. Are you being Martha or Mary? That's hard for a lot of people to hear. And I know I'm probably ruffling some feathers and crinkling some brows and hey, wait a minute, all of these things are good and they need to be done. And do they? Yes, they do. And make sure you're getting things in the right order, though. And at the end of the day, if a floor gets left unswept overnight or for an extra day or two, but you are at the feet of Jesus and out there helping other people know this good news and the shoulds, God's shoulds, and how much better life is when we focus on God's shoulds versus our shoulds first. We can sleep at night and we'll have plenty of time. We have all the time in the world to get to those things. And if our time comes in the meantime, are you going to care about a few unclean dishes or an unswept floor when you're in heaven? Or when when your time comes, either through God's plan for you or a natural disaster or another human's plan for you? No. Oh my goodness. And living from the putting the coulds on your should and priority list is also a recipe for just constant frustration, because we can't get it all done. There are so many hours in the day, and we do have finite energy, and people are fickle, and their moods are fickle. And even when you think you've done all the things that you should do, somebody's going to be unhappy with either how you did it, or that you didn't do it on their timing or their way, or they've come in and brought their garbage in from their day, and even if it's perfect, they're still, they're just unhappy, and they're going to take it out on you. And that's living from a fear of, or you're going to do that to yourself. You're doing all this chasing of your tail and exhausting yourself, even to satisfy something within you that's missing, when really going over here and doing God's shoulds are where it's at. That's fulfilling. That's calming. That's brings the peace beyond all understanding, and gives you compassion for people when they're in your midst and they're focusing on all the coulds instead of the shoulds, and thinking they're doing, that's Pharisee thinking. Pharisees have created their own system, a perverted system of earning and works. Yeah. And that's what we do too as humans. That's the human way. And the only way to get out of the human way is by following God's instructions. Oh, look, y'all. A feather. A beautiful little feather. Wow. I think I'm going to pick that up as a little reminder today and put it somewhere to remind me of my shoulds and coulds and what I'm truly procrastinating on that actually matters in God's kingdom. And we have a couple of parables in there. I'm not going to camp on them because about God's kingdom and the mustard seed and just the abundance that's there if we get it right. If we get it not right. Yes, right. Yes, because his way is the right way. He's telling us this. And it's correct. It's good. It is good for us. It's good for everybody around us. And anyway, and the narrow door too. That's another example of procrastinating. You might find it one day, but if you procrastinated and waited too long, it's going to be too late. It's not going to open. Anywho, some hard-hitting messages in Luke chapter 12 and 13. Jesus is not pulling any punches. And I think that's meant to be convicting and get you out and looking at the big picture and then helping you keep on track with the day-to-day, because it is so easy to get sucked into the vortex of all of our earthly responsibilities. And not that we just neglect all of those. No, absolutely not. But when you put first things first, which is God and God's instructions and doing things God's way, all the other stuff takes care of itself. He's saying, trust me on this. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. So that is what faith is all about. But you have to live it and do it and you have to do it a long time. This is hence the faith walk of allowing, because it takes time to grow and get the evidence. And that's where a lot of us will fall off. We are a quick fix, instant gratification species, the human race. And this is, again, where it takes faith and time and trust and doing it even when you don't see the evidence. But the evidence is coming. Like, you've got to see it before you see it. Feel it before you feel it. Know it before you know it. And it will come. That's God's kingdom here on earth, heaven on earth. It's not just some place that's only there for us and the suffering that we just have to endure in this broken world and as broken people. No, we have a chance to have heaven here on earth and God's kingdom here on earth when we find that narrow gate and we walk through it and keep on that path. It's not even a one and done deal. It's a day by day, so dying, letting a piece of yourself die, and a new piece being resurrected. But there's also that in-between phase. So anyway, back to all of the concept of procrastinating. There are some things that we really should be procrastinating on, and there's some things we shouldn't be. There are things that we can do, and if we're making everything a should, and the wrong or not the correct things shoulds, and we're missing out on the real priorities. So procrastination is not something to be taken lightly with our instructions from God. Those are things that we can't procrastinate on. All the other things it's just gravy. It's all things that can be done, and if we can get to them today, great. If not, there's always tomorrow. Not that way with God's promises and God's ways, because you never know. And you don't want to be caught unaware. You don't want to be caught red-handed. All right. Have a great day. It's always a great day to have a great day. All right. Rise and shine.